So here's the next question. I'm going to provide a little background before I ask the question. Florida prisons have become less safe over the last 5 years than at any time in their history. Officer assaults are up dramatically. The types and amount of inmate violence are both escalating, and staff turnover levels are at an all-time high. In fact, most prisons in District 7 are facing staff shortages. At Gulf CI, we currently have 30% of our open positions unfilled. For every 3 officers we hire, 2 leave. All of these problems come down to the fact that in the midst of a booming economy, corrections officers across Florida make wages that are on par with Home Depot. And I can add, nobody's getting stabbed at Home Depot. Senior staff are retiring, but turnover rates have left the department without seasoned staff to take their place. So in light of that information, this is the question. What skills or experience do you have that will aid you in solving these problems? What ideas do you have to stop the revolving door of hire, train, quit that currently plagues Florida prisons? Mr. Watkins, you take that first.
Thank you, Brian. I'm going to ask Elizabeth or Jamie if they can hand out I think it's going to be germane to the rest of the presentation. And I'll just tell you that whenever you take on this job, and we're specifically interviewing for the job of being your representative, it is a competitive market. And so I want to remind folks that the 120 House seats that are here in the state of Florida, only 8 of those are in the Panhandle. 8 out of 120. So I think one of the main skills is to be able to articulate, to be able to advocate, to be able to work across the aisle, to be able to bring forth ideas. So those are the skills and experience that I've had working both in state government and the private sector. I've worked hand in hand with the legislature to get good policy put in place and good appropriations to be put in place. And that's what I think needs to happen in the Department of Corrections. I'm here to tell you that on the 3rd page, what I think makes a crisis is that officers are being hurt, and the turnover is so obvious. We're spending $5 million a month on overtime, and overtime is a short-term solution. My granddaddy, Grantham, in Washington County, and Mom will remember this, used to say, you can't burn the candle at both ends. You just can't. At some point, it catches up to you. It's not a sustainable model. It's only a short-term fix, but they're doing it because they have to. So if you go into the 4th page, you asked me about ideas. I want to talk about a little bit about those ideas. We need to make a commitment that correction officers and probation officers are bona fide and equal partners with law enforcement. You guys have been treated as stepchildren, just like HRS and DCF has for so many years. And if you are a conservative, you have a conservative principle of law and order. If you believe in law and order, you have to believe in corrections. You don't get it both ways. You gotta take both if you believe it. And those things start with our elected officials. We need to require DOC to reevaluate the critical staffing levels. I'm not sure they're up to date, but what those critical posts are actually in the facilities needs to be very clear and updated. And then I'd like to see DOC be required to publish any incidents when a critical post is abandoned. When you pull a man down or a woman down to go to the rec yard or go to chow or there's an incident, by their very definition, we're leaving people in an unsafe environment. We've even heard stories where guys are going on the floor with the keys by themselves. Yes, sir. So I think that's something we need to have continued conversations about, and I need there to be some light shown and shine down on how critical that is. We need to adopt a career ladder system. We need to adjust the pay of veteran officers. And those sign-in bonuses that are going to new guys, $1,000 a pop, how about $1,000 a pop be redirected to the guys that stay? And reinstate the 25 years. 30 years for doing a high-risk classification should not be the retirement age. It should be 25 years.
Thank you. Ms. Bell, what skills or experience do you have that will aid you in solving these problems? What ideas do you have to stop the revolving door of hire, train, quit that currently plagues Florida prisons?
Thank you. Number one, I'm a problem solver. These kinds of issues take people that are willing to go and look at the problems and create solutions to these problems. I do this every day as a city manager. One of the things I realized, it is a lot cheaper to retain good employees than it is to replace them, rehire them, and retrain them. And what is the definition of insanity? Is when you keep doing the same thing and you expect a different outcome. And that is what's been happening in our prison system. We are doing things the same way, but somehow we expect a different outcome. Create a solutions whereby the value of the officer, the value of the corrections officer should be equal to, if not more, than the value of the prisoner or the inmate that they're guarding. I think it's absolute insanity that the inmates have far more rights than those do that are guarding them. And we have three employees, one retired council member, one existing employed council member in Steve's, and another one who is part-time, who all work for the corrections department. And so I wanted to call them, I wanted to sit with them and pick their brains, tell me what's going on. It is insane to me that you could be on the job for 12 years, 13 years, and the guy walking in the door is going to make the same thing as you, and he's going to get a signing bonus. I mean, I was furious when I heard this because this makes no sense. What do? Day one, you go to bill writing, I understand bill writing, and you create a bill, you look at legislation to stop this. Then you be the best advocate that you can possibly be, and you fight for your legislation. You get your sponsors, you go door to door to members of the House and to members of your friends, which I have many friends in the House, many friends in the Senate, and you knock on those doors and you get your sponsorships so that you know if you get as many sponsors as you have in a committee, you know you're going to get that bill passed. So I'm just telling you that I'm the person to do it because I understand the issue. My nephew, we were just at my in-laws last night, and my nephew just told me, a very good friend of his that he goes to school with, that his father was stabbed in the lung as a Department of Corrections officer, and that he felt devalued and how he was treated as a result of how he is actually back on the job. And I thought, how demoralizing when these inmates have better representation than our officers do. It's time to stop this insanity, put boots on the ground, and pass legislation that makes sense, and stop this, in addition to raises, cost of living increases that are automatically given every year without you having to go back before the Florida legislature, which makes it a political football every single cycle. I pledge to do that.